Welcome back, students. Welcome to biology classes. Today we are going to see 12th science biology, and we are going to start with the next chapter, and that is chapter number 8, human health and disease. First, in this chapter we are going to see the basic introduction, and after that we will shift to the main topics of this chapter. So let's start with today's lecture. First, before going to the main topics, you need to know that what exactly a health is, right? So health is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, right? So what is health? So it is a state where you are looking or where you are being focused on three main things. First is physical, right? Your physical, where whether you are perfectly fit with the physical needs or not. Second is with the mental needs, right? Whether you're mentally fit or not. And the third is social well-being. That means whether you are better with the social things or not, right? So if these three of things are proper or complete, then that is known as health. Now, it increases productivity and ensures longevity, right? So it increases productivity. That means that once your health is complete, right, it increases the productivity. That means whatever you are going to do or whatever you are doing, the productivity of your health as well as the productivity of your uh, state of the physical, mental, and social well-being, it increases. And also it increases the longevity, right? That means for the longer lifespan you can easily live, right? So that it increases due to the proper health. It increases two things, right? First is productivity, and also it ensures the longevity. Next, biology stated that mind influences through neural system and endocrine system. Now, as you know, that mind works, right? The controlling mechanism which has been taking place in your body, that is through the two different types of system. The first system is the neural system, and the second is the endocrine system. So these are the two systems on which your mind influences, right? So this is according to the biology. Next is the immune system is responsible for maintaining our health, right? Now, for maintaining your health in a proper manner, well, first thing which is needed, and that is the immune system. Without proper immune system, your body or your health cannot be said to be a perfect one. So if your body is having a good amount of immune system or a proper type of immune system, then you are said to be a healthy person. So the person who is not easily prone to any of the disease, right, जो डायरेक्टली किसी डिसीज के साथ मतलब डिसीज की झपेट में नहीं आ जाता है, राइट? सो दैट इज व्हाट अ प्रॉपर इम्यून सिस्टम. So now this was about the basic introduction of the health. Now we are going to see that there are various ways to ensure that a good health. That means how you can get a good health, right? So first is the balanced diet, right? So balanced diet means what? If your regular diet, right, if it is a balanced one, that means you are taking proper amount of proteins, you are taking proper amount of fats, you are taking proper amount of lipids, right? So if the carbohydrates, proteins, fats, all the ratios are balanced, then your diet is proper. And if your diet is proper, you are getting all the required nutrients from the food, and this ensures that your health is good. Next is personal hygiene. That means you should take care of your own self, right? You should maintain hygiene, right? You should nowadays, as you all know, that due to COVID, right, what happens? You are using sanitizers for maintaining the hygienes, right? Same way, similarly, you should go for another personal hygiene also, and you should keep yourself clean. So this is also the second reason to ensure a good health. Third is exercise. You should go for the exercise every day to make yourself fit and keep yourself fit for longer time, right? Fourth is awareness about prevention and control of disease, right? You should know that what exactly, you should be aware of the different types of disease, that if you're not eating proper food, right, then you may go through cholera or jaundice or something like a food poisoning, right? So you should be aware about the disease. you should know how to prevent it, as well as you should know how to control that disease, right? So you should take care about this also. So this is also one of the way to ensure a good health. Next is the proper waste disposal and control of factors, right? The disposal of the garbage as well as other things should be done in a proper manner. And also the control of factors, that means the factors are the one which are responsible for transferring the different types of pathogens, or the ones, pathogens means the ones or the things which are responsible for occurrence of the infection or the disease. So the vectors are the one which are carrying them. So if you are controlling those factors, then what you are doing is your that particular bacteria or virus or anything cannot be transferred from one place to another. So you should control the vectors. And the last one is the vaccination. You should go for the proper dosage of vaccinations, because with the use of this vaccines, what you can do is you can develop the better and proper amount of immune system. So these are the different ways through which you can ensure a good health, right? Now we are going to see that what exactly a disease is. So disease is what, when the functioning of one or more organs or systems of the body is adversely affected and marked by various signs and symptoms, is called a disease. So what is exactly a disease is the normal functionings, right? So when the organs are working, now see, you have organ system, right? So that means so many organs are linked with each other, right? So when the functioning of one or more than one organs is occurring in your body, and when the adverse effects are observed, right, by looking at several signs and symptoms, then that means whatever normal is there, if you're getting high amount of fever, then you may understand that what exactly you have some sign and symptoms that you may undergo this disease, right? So when the normal functioning is adversely affected by any of the and unwanted entry in your body, then that is called a disease. Next, the disease are divided into two types. Right now there are two different types of disease. First is infectious disease and second is non-infectious disease. Infectious disease means the disease which are easily transmitted from one person to another, right? For example is AIDS. So the one which can be easily transmitted from one place to, from one person to another person, that is said to be infectious disease. Simply you can say it is contagious, right? The contagious disease are those like just like a viral infection. So if you are sitting with a person who is undergoing a viral infection, who is having viral infection rather, I would say, then that particular person viral infection can be passed from that person to you. So that is, it is easily transmitted from one person to another, and for this reason those type of disease are called infectious disease. The second type of disease are non-infectious disease. That means the disease which are not transmitted from one person to another. The difference between them is the infectious is transmitted from one person to another. The non-infectious means the disease which are not transmitted from one person to another. The AIDS is the example of the infectious disease. And cancer, if you are sitting with a cancer patient, you are not going to undergo with the disease, or you are not going to have the cancer. So that is what the non-infectious disease. So this is about the two different types of disease, right? Next is, why do disease occur? Now the main reason that why the disease occurs, so let's see, the first reason is the genetic reasons, right? Genetic reasons means the disorders which are being occurring in the body, right? So the genetic reasons are the innate deficiencies and inheritable defects, right? So here what happens, the disease occur due to the disorders which are occurring, the genetic disorders. That means the genes are altered, and for this reason this type of disorders are said to be the genetic disorders, right? So the disease occur through genetic reasons, that is the disorders which are occurring. Then innate means from born, right? So the innate deficiencies, that means from the womb only it is you are getting those deficiencies. So that is also the same. And inheritable defects, that means the defects which are being transferred from one generation to the next generation, right? So for this is the first reason that why the disease occurs. The deficiencies which are present in a child from birth, which are inherited from parents, right? So this is said to be the innate deficiencies, right? So the deficiencies, that means something you are lacking, right? So those type of deficiencies which are present in the child from the birth, right? Those type and those deficiencies are being inherited, that means they are being passed from the parent generation to the child, right? That is from the parent generation to the uh, next progeny, right? So that is said to be the innate deficiencies. Next is the second reason is the infections, right? So if you are undergoing or if you are exposed to any of the bacterial or fungal or viral infection, and with the infections which have been carried out, you may go through the disease, right? So this is the second reason why the disease occurs. And the third is the lifestyle, right? If your lifestyle is not proper, then also you may be prone to several diseases. So the first is in the lifestyle, the junk food. If you're not having the proper diet, right, then also your body is not going to be healthy, right? That means it will not get proper amount of proteins, carbohydrates, nutrients, right? And for this reason, from the junk food, right, you may undergo, for example, if you are eating at a street, right, then their hygiene is not maintained over there, and it there are chances that you may undergo several food poisoning disease, right? So the junk food is one of the reason. Second, the consumption of alcohol or drugs, right? If you are consuming the alcohol or drugs, then also you are prone to disease. That means it is going to reduce your immune responses. That means your immunity is lowered with the consumption of the alcohol or drugs. And the last is the lack of exercise, right? If you're not undergoing a proper exercise, then also your body is not fit, and due to this your immunity is lowered down, and for this reason what happens, you are prone to several disease. So these are the three main reasons why the disease occurs. Now we are going to start with several common disease which are occurring in humans, right? So we'll see the different types of disease. First we are going to see the bacterial, then we are going to see the viral, then fungal. So we are going to see different types of disease which are occurring through the different types of mediums, right? So first of all, the disease caused by microorganisms like bacteria, virus, fungus, protozoan, helminths are called pathogens. So the ones or the organ are the ones who are responsible for causing the disease or causing the infection. Those microorganisms are called pathogens. Pathogens are nothing but they enter into your body by various means, right? That means through various uh, activities or through various types they can enter inside your body. Few of them can enter through your respiration, few of them can enter through the food means, right? Water. So there are different ways through which the this type of pathogens they enter inside your body. So pathogens can enter in body through various means, then multiply. So inside your body they multiply themselves, and after the multiplication they interfere there in the normal activities, the normal vital activities which are responsible for resulting in morphologically and functional damage. So two things are damaging upon entry of those pathogen. The morphology and the functional changes observed in your body, right? And what type of change, that is the normal activities cannot be performed well, right? When you are not exposed to any of the pathogen, then you will be normal in day to day life. But um, if you are, for example, exposed to any of the pathogen, then your functioning of your body is decreased, and for this reason your immune system is comparatively reduced at that time. So there will be several changes which are observed in morphology also. That means you are not well, you are feeling weakness, right? Then proper functioning is also not being carried out. So the morphologically and functional damages occur. So those are pathogens which are responsible for all these things. Now first we are going to see is the bacterial disease or the bacterial infection, right? So in the bacterial disease, first is typhoid, right? You might already know about the typhoid, right? So the pathogenic bacterium which is responsible for causing typhoid fever is Salmonella typhi. Now the most important is the bacterium which is responsible for causing the typhoid is the Salmonella typhi. So this is a bacteria. The Salmonella typhi is a bacteria, and this Salmonella typhi is responsible for causing the typhoid. Now it is spread through contaminated water and food. So with the it uses this Salmonella typhi, it uses the water and food as a medium through which it spreads and causes the typhoid. The site of infection is the small intestine. So what they do is, when the Salmonella typhi, when they enter inside a food or a water, when the person eats or drinks that water or food, what happens? This bacteria reaches to the small intestine, and in the small intestine it does its multiplication, and for this reason the proper absorption of the digested food, or we can say the proper absorption of the nutrients, is not taking place, and for this reason your body is not getting proper amount of energy, right? And here the example is the typhoid man, right? The symptoms of this disease is the high fever. You are going to have high fever. You will have stomach pain due to the site of infection of this bacteria is small intestine. So you will be having small stomach pain. Also, you will undergo headache. Even severe headache can also be there. The loss of appetite. That means you will not feel to eat anything, right? So that is the loss of appetite. Then constipation, that means you will regular stool, the fecal waste which is released out from your body, that is not occurred, right, due to the loss of appetite, and for this reason the person may undergo constipation. And there will be several intestinal perforations. In severe cases it may also lead to death, right? So in intestine several perforations, that means several uh, the infection when increases, what happens? The intestinal perforations are observed. The intestinal perforations means what? The particular small intestine is not ready to accept the nutrients inside your body, and for this reason the person is not getting proper amount of energy, and for if it is not getting proper amount of energy, what happens? The immune system is not well, and for this reason the case becomes severe, and this can also may lead to death, right? The confirmatory test for typhoid is Vidal test, right? So to check whether a person is having an like cause the person is affected by Salmonella typhi or not, so to diagnose it, right, to test it, the the confirmatory test for the typhoid is the Vidal test. This can be asked in MCQ, that what is the confirmatory test for typhoid. So it is Vidal test. So this was the first bacterial infection. The second disease is the pneumonia, right? Pneumonia is caused by Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenza. So these are the two causing organism of pneumonia. Pneumonia is a disease, is a respiratory disease, and it occurs inside the lungs, right? And this Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenza, these are the two causing organism which leads to the infection of pneumonia. Now, it spreads through droplets released from the infected person, sharing of glasses or utensils, right? So the particular, as it is passing or as it is spreading through the droplets, that means if a person is, and if a person besides you, right, if he or she is having pneumonia, and if he or she sneezes, that means several droplets are released from its from their nose, and when the this droplets are being spreaded, right, what happens? This particular bacteria, they enter inside your body, and it can also cause you pneumonia, right? So it can be also spread through the sharing of glasses. That means if you are using the glass which is already been used by the infected person, or also you can, if you use utensils which are being used by the infected person, then also you are prone to this disease, right? The site of infection is alveoli. Now, alveoli are present in lungs. So, as I previously said, that this pneumonia, this disease is a respiratory disease, right? That means it occurs inside the lungs. And same, the alveoli, these are present inside the lungs, and the site of infection of this particular bacteria is alveoli. So what happens in the alveoli? It gets filled with fluid, which creates difficulty in breathing. So the air is only entering inside the lungs, but instead of this, the alveoli, which are being filled with the air, instead of air, the fluid is filled inside the alveoli, and for this reason this causes difficulty in breathing. So proper amount of oxygen is also not reached to your body, and this leads to the pneumonia. The symptoms of this disease is fever, then you are getting chills, right? You will get fever, that means high fever. Also you are getting chills, right? That means you will feel cold. Then cough, right? You will feel like coughing. You will have headache. The lips and nails become gray in severe cases. So if these are the symptoms, that through the symptoms you can understand that this thing may have occurred, right? So these are the symptoms, and in the severe cases your nails and lips both become gray in nature, right? Or gray in color. So this is about the second type of bacterial infection, and that is pneumonia. So this was the bacterial disease, right? The first we saw was the typhoid, and the second was pneumonia. Now we are going to see the viral disease. In the viral disease, the first one is the common cold, right? So the first common cold, only one disease is there in the viral disease. Common cold is normal in everyone, right? Everyone are prone to this common cold, because when the seasonal change is observed at that time, this common cold is the one which is occurring, right? And the causing organism of the common cold is rhinovirus. So there is one virus which is known as rhinovirus, and this virus is responsible for causing the common cold. Now, the site of infection is nose and respiratory passage. So again, these are entering inside your body with the means of the respiration. So the main site of infection is nose as well as the respiratory passage, right? Next is, it spreads through the droplets released from coughing or sneezing by contaminated objects. So any of the contaminated objects are there, if you touch them, or if the droplets are already fallen on those objects, and if you are touching them, then also it can be spread. So the person besides you, if he or she is having the if they are having the rhino, like common cold, right, then if they sneeze or cough, then several droplets are released from their coughing and sneezing. And if these are present, or if these are released in the air, then other people around them are also prone to common cold. The symptoms of this disease is nasal congestion. That means you are not congestion means the narrowing of the nasal passage, right? That occurs. The discharge, that means the nose discharge, which you see is, right, the running nose. Then sore throat, that means the throat becomes you feel like harsh, right? Then cough occurs, that means the coughing mechanism, you are undergoing the headache, as well as you feel tiredness while you are undergoing the common cold thing, right? So this is about the viral disease, right? The third type of disease is the protozoan disease, right? These are one of the most dangerous ones, right? So in the protozoan disease, first we are going to see is the malaria, right? So the causing organism for malaria is plasmodium species, right? So the plasmodium species, they are of three types, right? The first is plasmodium vivax, the second is plasmodium falciparum, the third is plasmodium malaria. So these are the three causing organism which are causing the malaria, right? Now, the Plasmodium falciparum is most serious disease which can lead to death. So this one, the second one, which is the Plasmodium falciparum, this is the most serious disease, right? And it can lead to death also. The vector carrying the Plasmodium is female Anopheles mosquito. So here what happens, the malaria is being spread with the use of a vector, and the vector which is being used over here is a female anopheles mosquito. So the symptoms of this disease is high grade fever and chills. So several time periods, several time interval, you will feel several fever, right? High fever you are going to, and sudden change will be there, and you will feel the chills, right? So these are the symptoms of the malaria. Now we are going to see the life cycle of the plasmodium, right? So the life cycle of plasmodium says that the plasmodium enters the human body as small sporozoids through the bite of infected anopheles mosquito. Now here, when the plasmodium enters, how the plasmodium enters inside the human body. So the first is there will be presence of small sporozoids, right? And these small sporozoids, they are entered inside your body with the bite of the mosquito, right? So the infected anopheles mosquito, that means the mosquito is been infected by the plasmodium, right? So when the mosquito is being infected by the particular plasmodium, they produce sporozoids. So when the mosquito bites a human, the sporozoids are entered inside the body of the human, right? So these sporozoids are the infectious form, and they are having the ability to infect the humans, right? Now these sporozoids, they multiplies within the liver cells. So first thing that occurs is the sporozoids, they act upon the liver cells, that those are the hepatocytes, and in the liver cells they multiply themselves. So the number of the sporozoids, they increase in the liver cells, and this is known as asexual reproduction, right? So here in the liver, like in the liver cells, when the multiplication takes place, the asexual reproduction is taking place, right? Next is later it attacks the RBCs, which results in rupturing of the RBCs with the release of toxic substances, which is known as hemozoin, right? So what happens once the sporozoid multiplies in the liver cells, in that region, in the liver cells, the asexual reproduction takes place. So now there are so many sporozoids are formed. So what happens later, this matured sporozoids, they attack the red blood cells, and this leads, when they attack the RBCs are ruptured, and when the rupturing of the RBCs takes place, what happens, the uh, upon the rupturing of those RBCs, they release a toxic substance which is known as hemozoin. And this particular rupturing of the RBCs and the release of this toxic substance, this stage is said to be the sexual stage, right? So two different types of reproduction is taking place in the humans. The first is asexual reproduction, which is taking place in the liver, and the second is the sexual reproduction, which is taking place again in the humans but in the RBCs, right? Now the hemozoin, that is the toxic substance, is responsible for high fever and chills, and this occurs every 3 to 4 days. So here what happens, the hemozoin, this is responsible for high fever, right? That means the fever becomes high, as well as you are also getting chills. So this will occur every 3 to 4 days, right? So every 3 to 4 days the hemozoin is going to increase, and for this reason you are getting high fever as well as chills. Now the malarial parasites require two hosts. The first host is the human, and the second host is the anopheles mosquito. So this malarial parasite, it uses two hosts, and this can be asked in MCQ also. Now, the female Anopheles mosquito is the vector of this disease to human being. So, as we know that the first, when the female Anopheles mosquito bited the particular human, right? So, the first vector of this disease is the human being. Now, so this is all about the life cycle of the malarial parasite, right? So they are using two hosts, human as well as Anopheles mosquito. So what happens here, once the uh, sexual stage has been carried out, what happens again, when the when the female Anopheles mosquito bites that person, right? So they are going to intake the blood, and now in this blood there will be presence of the matured, that there will be presence of the gametes of this particular uh, this particular the main plasmodium, right? For this reason, what happens here, when they again suck the blood, there will be presence of the plasmodium, so many number, right? And again the cycle continues. So this is all about the malaria. The second is the amoebiasis, right? So this here, it is also known as amoebic dysentery, right? The causing organism of the amoebiasis is the Entamoeba histoltica, right? So this is the causing organism. Again, this can be asked in the MCQ. Now, the vector which is carrying the pathogen is houseflies. So with the houseflies, this can be passed from one place to another. The site of infection of this disease is large intestine. So the major infection which is taking place is in the large intestine. Now the house flies, it transmits, right? The house flies transmits and the parasites through feces or stool of infected person to food or food products and contaminates the food. So what happens when the house flies, when they sit on the feces or stool of the infected person, so the particular pathogens, they stick to the legs of those house flies, and this house flies again comes to the food products, and when they sit, this food becomes contaminated, right? So this way the transferring of the pathogen occurs, right? The symptoms of amoebiasis is constipation. You are going undergoing constipation, that is not proper removal of the fecus occurs. Also, you are going to undergo through several abdominal pain. You are going to have cramps, right? That means you are feeling like something, you are feeling very much dizzy, right? You are having so much pain, right? And also the stools with mucus. That means several blood clots and mucus has been observed in the stool. So these are the examples, these are the symptoms which are observed for amoebiasis, right? Next, this is the figure of the plasmodium that we saw, the malaria, right? Next was, right here, we complete the protozoan disease, right? So we saw today about the first bacterial disease, then we saw about viral disease, and third we saw about the protozoan disease. I hope you are very clear with today's topic, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.